Good evening and welcome to this Wednesday edition of the Island Stat Sports Show. I'm your host, Earl Basin, and joining me as co-host, Jason Juggling J. Ford. And our guest this evening, our first guest this evening, is Neil Painter, the president of St. George's Cricket Club. First of all, Jay, we've lined up a very interesting program for this evening. We will be joined by Julian Fletcher, who's attempting to become an IOC Athletes Commission representative. In Tokyo, they'll have the IOC vote for the Athletes Commission. He's vying for a spot, so we just want to talk to him about, what he plans to do if he's successful. And later on in the show, we'll be joining yourself and Sean Tucker as the voices of summer, or the voice of summer, although it's two of you, so it'd be voices of summer, to talk about the summer classics that will take place. But first of all, we have with us again the president of St. George's Cricket Club, Neil Painter. Good evening, Mr. Painter. We all know that the Cup Match Classic is on, but still to be decided or still to be announced are several issues relating to the event. And one of the things that we want to find out is, so far, what are the restrictions for spectators?
All right. Good evening, Earl. Good evening, Jason. Good evening, Bermuda. The restrictions basically are, as far as the numbers, we'll be allowed 4,000 spectators per day. So that's 4,000 per day, total people in the grounds. Obviously, it's a safe key event. And a lot of those regulations we'll be speaking to in the next few days. So it's a normal cup match. When I say a normal cup match, everything that goes on that cup match, from crown and anchor to concessions to the actual game being played, is on, but it's a scaled down event. So those are some of the restrictions that are coming in. Like I said, it's a safe key event.
Jay, you have an early question?
Yeah, President, I don't want to say this is the home stretch, but you're starting to see the home stretch in about a week or so. What does it look like preparation at the club right now? Normally around this time it's touching up painting here, the hammers going on, and I'll probably be down tomorrow to see the guys, but also hear the hammers going on. What's the preparation like down the club?
President, before you answer that, don't go down St. George's spying. Don't go down St. George's spying. That's what all you West Enders do. Go somewhere to watch them train. But go ahead, President, you can answer.
No, but I'm glad you asked that question, Jason. Preparation is going very well. The majority of our painting is done. Most of our work this year was more cosmetic than anything else. We weren't doing any real, because of the timelines, we didn't do any real infrastructure things. So majority of our painting is done. All our boundary walls are done. Majority of our clubhouse is done. We've started the changing rooms inside of the bar areas. The scaffolding is like 98% finished. The only thing that they have to do with the scaffolding in some places is put plywood down in the upper areas. The field is looking immaculate. Things are going well. And you come down here during the day, you see people working down here, particularly some of our members, our committee members, have been working very hard to ensure that this event goes off.
Can you speak to how important it is to have those committee members because volunteers, because there's so much work that needs to be done. I just talk about fencing and surrounding parts of the field. If you used to pay for every single thing that had to be done around the club, you probably have no money.
Yeah. I would say that I'm very grateful to Carlos Greaves, our groundsman, and a few other members, Roderick Painter, John Gibbons, and a lot of our other members who are doing a fabulous job. They come here day in and day out, particularly on weekends at 6:30 in the morning. So we started the minute we knew Cup Match was on, and even when Somerset decided that it was going to be off, and then it's back on, we were still working diligently. So we've been here like from the time we decided, and the government gave us the okay to have Cup Match, and the volunteerism has been spectacular. The people that have been coming around, and let's be honest, it hasn't been many. But those that have come have put in a yeoman's work and continue to do it day in and day out.
When you look at, obviously we've had some rain over the last couple of days. is that helping the field side of it, but also hindering the progress of what you want to get accomplished for the festival, for the classic?
Well, I can tell you the rain has been nothing but a blessing for us because we were so far ahead when that there's 90 and 88 degree temperatures are on. We were getting all our painting out of the way. These last few days where we had this rain, we had guys come down today to cut our field. The field is green, totally green. So we're glad the rain came. It came. We were so far ahead of the game when it came to our preparations as far as the infrastructure that it has only been a blessing. And we're hoping that we get at least 2 days of rain every week, and we'll be on point.
There are many that say that the Classic should not take place this year due to the still effects of COVID-19. But you beg to differ. Can you explain why?
Well, I can tell you why it started from last year when Cup Match was canceled. There were a lot of people in Bermuda upset that it didn't go on. And they said, at least you could have played the game, had it on television and the like, and it didn't happen, and they were upset. And now here we are putting an event on that a lot of people thought it wouldn't go on. And when international events were going on, they were upset that international events, thinking that the government would cancel Cup Match. And we put it on. I beg to differ. I think this, like I've always said, this is something that Bermuda needs, not St. George's Cricket Club. Because like I tell you, if we had to think of just us, we would have stayed home and relaxed for the summer. But we felt as our community involvement and our responsibility to St. George's and the wider Bermuda, that we must put this event to bring Bermuda together. I think what if Cup Match goes off, wonderful. I think it bodes well for the future of our island and our people as a whole.
I just want to clear one more thing up. You said 4,000 spectators, and then you said 4,000 in total. So what is the number? Is it 4,000 total per day, or is it 4,000 spectators per day?
It's 4,000 total per day.
Okay.
That includes.
So how many have you allocated for players, officials, I guess media, the concessions? How many have you allocated for that, and then allow for spectators?
Well, we took all of those tickets out. I don't have the numbers with me at this present time, but we took all that into consideration and put whatever was left online for online sales. So I know it's 3,000 plus. I can't give you the exact number.
Jay?
Question with regarding to when we have a couple areas for public seating. How is that going to go about now?
Kind of can't hear you, but I think you spoke in reference to public seating, what that's going to look like. Yeah. Basically, wherever you don't see scaffolding, that is going to be public seating. So basically, it's first come, first serve. You come into the grounds. We're encouraging people to bring their umbrella. At this particular time, we're not encouraging easy ups, but we're encouraging you to bring your umbrella because as far as covering, we may have some challenges with that simply because lumber has gone up astronomically in these last 16 to 18 months. But we're encouraging when you do come, bring an umbrella, bring a hat, make sure that you can ensure that you don't get sunburnt on the day.
It's interesting that you say that. I mean, what will it look like? Will it look like Cup Match, or will it look like half a Cup Match? What are you hoping that the people in attendance, and if possible, if it's put online, if it's put on television, what will it look like at the Wellington Oval?
Well, from someone who has been doing Cup Match prior to scaffolding, and we used to build camps, and they just have umbrellas. Cup Match will be Cup Match. Whatever happens on the day of Cup Match, it is Cup Match. I think sometimes we get lost in the fact that the scaffolding, the umbrellas, but we come to an event. Cricket just happens to be played at this event, so it will be Cup Match. It will be Cup Match in 2021. So just like Cup Match in 2019, that was Cup Match. Cup Match in 2021, this will be a 2021 Cup Match under the guidelines of the pandemic. And I know that people are looking to get out. I know people want to get out. They want some normalcy. And I think Cup Match is the tonic that will bring everything to some normalcy. And we know, as you know, and even Juggler, when you come to Cup Match, you just come to see people, to enjoy the festivities, watch a little cricket, play some Crown and Anchor, and totally enjoy yourself and be engulfed in the atmosphere.
One thing we would always remember, before we got involved in the club life, the Cup Match meant a little different things to us as growing up. You look at it as the event, but as you get into the club life, you understand it's a little more than that. So I know exactly what you're talking about when you start talking about the variety of things that go on to make it the event it is. Jay?
Yeah, President, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, it's sort of, some people ask, some people love to come first bowl. Some people love to come midday. Some people like to come 4 o'clock. Some people like to come 7 o'clock for different reasons, just for the event itself. But I tell you, to get the true essence of the game Cup Match is that first bowl, before the first bowl. And that first morning, it's amazing vibe around the whole field. Everybody thinks they can win. It's so much banter going on. It's crazy, and I encourage anybody to make sure that they go, because this year, and I've heard that is a cashless gate, so you got to get all your tickets online.
Yes, everything is online. There's no cash being accepted at the gate, because we want to have a seamless transition when it comes to everything, as far as safe key, all of that. So be looking out for some things that are going to be happening in reference to pre check-ins. We're going to be having some pre check-ins, whereas you come, do your safe key check-in, maybe the day before or the 2 days before. With the assistance of HSBC, it's going to be at different locations where you can check in, get your wristband. So when you come to the grounds, you're only proving that you're Neil Painter. So it's going to be a seamless transition. So we're looking to get that out to the public.
Wonderful. And I'm glad these initiatives have come about, because I was thinking, with all these protocols that would need to take place, it's going to be quite trying to get through that gate in a timely fashion. But once you said what these initiatives will actually speed that all up.
Yes, it definitely. And we want to make sure that it moves expeditiously as possible. So we're looking to put on, when you come, if you bought a ticket online, you move in smooth. All the everything is done prior to you getting here, and we can get people inside the grounds as quickly and as expeditiously as possible.
Just saying that, is this the future?
Well, I can tell you, if this works out as far as online sales, I think it is the future. I believe that it saves a lot of work as far as staff on the gate. If we can get our tickets sold prior to Cup Match, that's money that we already have. We can focus a lot of our energy and resources somewhere else in the grounds, where we're just getting people moving in. And I think that's going to be important. So I believe it's the future. I'm not going to say that we won't have a cashless gate at Cup Match, but there may be some more incentives for you to buy it pre than post. Yeah.
And looking at it, because obviously the first thing that comes to mind is, obviously, we have a lot of visitors that come and then find out about this major event called Cup Match at the hotels. Let's talk a little bit about the sponsor part. I know you were saying at the press conference that you hosted prior to the event being back on. How are the sponsors looking at the event now that it's really back on and prepared to support?
Well, I can tell you, as far as sponsorship, obviously HSBC is well on board. The Bermuda government is on board, but unfortunately, Earl and Jason, a lot of our corporate sponsors have pulled out. I'm just going to keep it real, because we were at the last minute when we decided to put on, and we were in talks with them. And then when it was off, we had to tell them that it was off. And then when it was back on, we had to reach back out to them. And obviously, in the corporate world, when you allocate money for certain things, and when you realize that it's not there, it moves to other places. So I'm going to be totally honest with Bermuda Public. We've lost a lot of corporate sponsorship. Right now, HSBC and the Bermuda government and the Department of Tourism are 2-3 entities that are on board, but we have lost a lot of our corporate sponsorship, and we're hoping to try and drum some up in the next few days.
Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have more with Neil Painter, the president of St. George's Cricket Club. We'll be right back.
We're welcoming back the often featured Whole Food veterans Bragg Live Food Products, renowned for their live probiotic organic raw cider vinegar and savory seasonings. Paul Bragg is the man behind the products that has originated health food stores, restaurants, and spas, and promoted nutrition education through the media, helping lay the foundation for the enlightened way we make healthful choices when we shop for and prepare food. This month we're featuring Bragg Organic Raw and Unfiltered Apple Cider Vinegar and Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Well, Jay, any next question for the president of St. George Cricket Club?
Yeah, you mentioned about sponsors and trying to drum up some new sponsors. So how would somebody who's looking to sponsor the event or looking to be a part of Cup Match, how do they go about that?
Well, traditionally, we would send out the information to, business entities via email, and then follow up with a phone call, and then we may have a meeting. But if anyone wishes to be a part of Cup Match, they can email us at St. George's Cricket Club. It's sgcc.cupmatch@gmail.com. But we're going to be doing a media blast and on our social media to let people know that there are opportunities to be a part of Cup Match, from field signage to corporate hospitality tents.
Good stuff.
And obviously, it's vital at this time to try and get as much sponsors on board as possible, because it's a major undertaking. A lot of people are misled at both ends of the island to believe that the clubs make millions and millions of dollars off of Cup Match when you start talking about what you have to pay out in order to host the event. By the time you're finished paying out all of that, your account balance is not as big as some would make you believe. Am I right?
That's totally correct. Both clubs do a yeoman job as putting on this event, but when we start the event, sometimes we don't have the full amount of funds to get it going. But because we do what we do, we know how to do. We have sponsorship. We're able to pull it off. But I think the most important thing, which I know for St. George's, is that we have to ensure on a non-Cup Match year that we budget properly, that our programs support everything that we're doing, so that when it comes to Cup Match, it can sustain itself. And the unfortunate side was that we only had a few months to sort of solicit funding from individuals. When we decided Cup Match was on, we put it out there, then the island shut down. Then we applied for it. We didn't get the information until the end of May. And from there, we were trying to get sponsorship. And we do understand that companies need time to put within their budget. So, but we at St. George's, we're determined. Bermudians as a people are resilient, and St. Georgians are even more resilient. And we're going to ensure that we're going to put on an event to the best of our ability for the Bermuda public. And
Take us through the setup of what it takes to actually put on such a major event, and that's the email address running across the bottom. Yes. For those that want to be involved, sgcc.cupmatch@gmail.com. But take us through some of the things that the clubs, and it will be the same thing for Somerset. It's just St. George's are the host this year, that the clubs have to go through in order to pull off this major event.
Firstly, it goes into the planning as far as budgeting, knowing what we need to run the event. And then once we know what we need to run the event, then we have to look for sponsorship and how we're going to ensure that we remain on budget and on time. Lots of times has to do with infrastructure. And I know we at St. George's Cricket Club try to maintain our infrastructure so that when it comes to Cup Match, we don't have much to do. But the main thing now is all the protocols, all the regulations through government, and particularly the Department of Health and the Department of Planning that we have to deal with. And I'll say this, both clubs are held under international standards. And the unfortunate thing is that they tell us that we are an international event, but we don't receive international funding, because when we go to ask for funding, they say we're not an international event, so you're not going to receive international funding. Now, how can we be held on the international standards and not be afforded the same opportunities at international standards? I give a case in point, which may be a large one. The America's Cup was given $77 million to ensure that they were successful. They were given $77 million to ensure that they were successful because they're an international event. Just imagine if you gave us $5 million. We can ensure that this event goes off. But what the problem is that our black clubs are always looked at not business places. We don't know how to manage our resources. We don't know how to manage our funds. You know, we're blacklisted. But if some people came into this club and see the work that we do on behalf of our communities, they would see the value in what we do, and they would appreciate it, and they would, you know, we want to be a part of what we do every day.
Jay?
President, I've heard you say this numerous times, and it feels like it's falling on deaf ears year after year. I know Earl was frustrated. I was frustrated early part of the year when we've seen international events being confirmed during a time of lockdown, fully sponsored, supported, even through lockdown. When our country status changed, none of their things changed. And it feels like this cup match or our local events seems like we're always hanging on the last breath of a press conference, what's going to happen. And it's time for all these stakeholders, for all our major events to sit and come to the table, because we cannot be held hostage when we talk about our legacy. Cup match is not a weekend cricket match. It's not a 10-year-old cricket match. This is something that's 100 years old. And many of our family forefathers have paved the way for us. And we treat it realistically like it's a weekend cricket match. You mentioned the type of money that gets supported to an international event. But I could promise you, any promotional material that goes up about this country, you're going to find cup match photos or cup match video or come to Bermuda during cup match. Yeah. So we recognize that it is what it is. We recognize that it is one of our national sports. Why are we not supporting it like it is? So I am there with you to help beat this drum as loud as possible. Whatever way possible, I can help to make more noise. I'll be there with the boys on here beating that St. George's drum for some reason. I don't know, but
we finally got him on our side. But Jay, I think you make a valid point, as well as the president makes a valid point. That I think it doesn't fall on deaf ears; it falls on ignored ears. They would rather support, because this is what they tell you all the time. X amount of beds in the hotel rooms make this amount of money, but they could never tell you what it actually makes at the end of it. They could tell you what it's projected as, but they can never tell you what it makes, because it never makes what they say it will make. But the reality is having people come in to partake in an event is counted as numbers of people coming in for the event, which I've argued that point over and over and over and over and over. If you have an event that has 120, we'll use golf per se. So golf had 120 people come in to play, plus 120 caddies, right? That's 240 people. But if 300 people came in for the event, if we're counting those 240, then only 60 people came in for the event, because the others are there to take part in the event. But Cup Match has been around over 100 years. That has been for us, and we built a legacy off of it. And you have people looking to come to Bermuda for this event. It should get if not the same, more attraction because it's Bermudians putting on a show for the rest of the world. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and we are volunteers. We all have our own professional lives. We do this out of the love of our heart, and and I would say from both clubs we do a stellar job. A stellar job under most difficult and trying circumstances. And both clubs and their members need to be applauded, but we just don't get the accolades and the respect that most of these other events get.
One last question, because I know you're not part of the selection committee, but as the president of the club, when can we find out who will lead the EastEnders this year?
That's by the end of this week, officially.
Okay.
Now, I picked the team, or I pick all 11 reserves.
Well,
you know what I'm saying. I have no problem with that, But no, by the end of this week, we have confirmed, yes, but officially we'll let everyone know within the next few days.
Well, my phone hasn't rang, so I know I'm out of the mix. So, I put my name down, but it didn't work out. So.
I tried myself, but hey, I figured in a Curva Cup match, I can at least be blamed for something that's right. You know what I mean? I can get in. Pick myself.
I can only imagine what the voice of someone would be saying if you had the ball in your hand.
Let's go to commercial.
Hey, listen, you'll be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Because this young man, I didn't realize how fast he could bowl. Till one day, he showed up in kit and came through. I heard this. I said, "Oh, okay, all right." Secret weapon. So if we need it, we can call upon it.
Here's these stories and these myths. I tell you, here we go.
A few miles an hour slower. A few miles an hour slower. No steadier though. No steadier.
Look, you get one to flow through, and the rest could be a lot slower, mate. Just one. Make the batsman think. Well, Neil Painter, I want to thank you very much for your time. I know putting on this cup match this year has been a daunting task, and I want to wish everybody, both clubs, all the best in the match. And the event itself, and hopefully it gets the support it's needed, and that everyone kind of, now that we have this event, respects it, behaves, give it what it's deserved, and that's the honor and the respect of celebrating us over this period of time for Cup Match. Okay?
Thank you.
All right,
you guys.
We're going to take a commercial break, and when we return, we'll be joined by Julian Fletcher, who's bidding for an IOC Athletes Commission position. We'll be right back.
We're spotlighting our old friends Woodstock Farms, who started up 50 years ago in the belief that we need more trustworthy natural food sources. Starting with one product, their line, mostly certified organic, is now more than 250 strong in 10 categories. This month we're featuring accoutrements of the barbecue, for us the pinnacle of home cuisine and one of the few forms of restorative recreation now within our reach. Try Woodstock Organic Sweet Relish, Tomato Ketchup, Baby Kosher Dill Pickles, Sauerkraut, and Hickory and Original Barbecue Sauce. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. We're joined by Julian Fletcher, who is a member of the Bermuda Olympic Association, as well as bidding to become an IOC Athletes Commission representative. Good evening, Julian. How are you?
Evening, guys. Thanks for having me, Earl and Jason. Thank you. It's great to be on the show, and some good insight there from Neil on the cricket. I know I'm excited to get in cup match mode for sure.
Well, Jay, let me just give you a brief story.
Tell them the story.
2016, we're in Brazil. Julian's appearance at the Olympic Games, and he sends me this picture at the Christ Redeemer of him taking Somerset to the top of of Brazil, because he's got a picture of himself with a Somerset flag. Jay, I was never more upset. I asked him to remove it,
Yeah,
but he chose not to.
And then I brought that flag with me anywhere, everywhere in Rio. Actually, I tried to get a picture of every one of the Rio kind of picturesque spots, tourist spots that you can go. And but yeah, I obviously support Somerset, but support both clubs, and it's great to hear that Neil's giving back and developing the sport in Bermuda, because I think that's really important to have those types of people that will dedicate their time to giving and growing sport in Bermuda.
Yeah, but Julian, onto the topic at hand. The Olympics start next week, and you are bidding for a spot on the Athletes Commission. Why would you want to join such a prestigious group of people in the bid to move sport forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I kind of envision and I align myself a lot with kind of the Olympic ideals of excellence, respect, and friendship. And from the Rio Games and over these past 4 years, I've definitely I have a lot of respect for Olympic sports, and I think within our Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. But yeah, within our kind of region, our Pan American region, I've tried to get involved with the Athletes Commission with the Pan American region. Been to multiple forums, including the IOC Athletes Commission, and then the Pan American Athletes Commission. So part of the reason why I want to get involved is because there's so many smaller countries that don't have the same opportunities as the larger countries, and there's $1.5 billion of resources, which is part of a nonprofit organization, the IOC, and that resources and funding can go back to so many different things, and can go back to development of sports, can go back to athletes' coaching expenses and training expenses and travel expenses, and really try and help to push and promote the growth of sport in our region. And I think that's one of the things that with my background in sport management, getting a degree at SMU in Dallas, Texas, being a student athlete, just getting those experiences, I think my resume, I think, really tailors around this potential role as the IOC Athlete Commission member.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, you were saying that the smaller nations, one of the ways of trying to change that is getting involved. But how much success do you think we can have if more smaller nations join the Athletes Commission to have that voice, to have that say? It is dominated by the bigger countries right now. We've seen that. There's no secret about that. But how many smaller nations do you think need to be involved in order for that to actually progress?
Yeah, I think that the more smaller nations, the more diversity on a board is important, and it'll help to progress sport overall. And I think when you look at the different kind of opportunities on an Athletes Commission, obviously the Athletes Commission represents the rights of the athletes and the voice of the athletes on the executive board. So it's kind of mirrors what I do now with the Bermuda Olympic Association's Athletes Commission on a larger scale. And the IOCs are a huge nonprofit organization. They're making a ton of decisions, some with the athletes in mind, and some with revenue and growth in mind. And I'll just give one example. The new norm is an example of kind of the direction where the IOC is going in, which it's basically the countries that are bidding for the host nations for the Olympic Games. Basically, with the new norm, what they're doing is, rather than building new infrastructure, they're going to utilize old infrastructure in countries to be able to to save money and save costs when delivering this kind of games. So, an example like Tokyo or London, they have like a longevity plan and a plan for after after the games and what they're going to do with these sites. But in terms of smaller countries, what happens is that takes away the opportunity for a smaller country or even like a underdeveloped country to be a host nation. So it's one of those things that needs to be brought up on the executive board, is how are we going to help to build these resources, to build these new stadiums, to build these tracks that have been historically part of the Olympic movement, is building sports around the world. So I think having the smaller countries definitely benefits the overall decision making, and definitely the small countries and the underdeveloped countries, the ones that aren't getting funding directly from their National Olympic Committee, those are the countries that kind of need the most help. So that's what I'm hoping to do, and hoping to kind of advocate for those athletes' rights on the board, on the IOC Athletes Commission.
Jay, any question?
Hey, Julia. First things first, a man of my heart.
Hey, Jay.
I'm glad, so I'm glad you do everything you can to antagonize Earl. Keep up the good work.
He's easy. He's easy.
But just listening to you and talking a lot about the infrastructure when it comes to the funding and stuff, especially with these big countries. But can you speak more to some of the ideas might be helping to support some of the athletes in the smaller nations? Because obviously funding is always going to be that sticking point, whether you can be go full-time, just train and get the best training, not only facilities, but off-field care. Just the funding alone for the smaller nations. What would you say to that?
Yeah, there are a lot of opportunities for funding that the athletes might not know about. Our NOC, the BOA, do a great job at utilizing the athlete grants from Athlete 365 and from the IOC, there's just a lot of paperwork when it comes to getting the grants approved and making sure that you're doing getting all the right procedures put in place before getting that approval of funding. But our NOC in the last 4 years has been able to grow different NSGBs and get coaches grants for a lot of different programs. We've been able to kind of grow sports like archery and bowling and sports that really haven't been seen as our national sports or haven't been in the spotlight historically in Bermuda. So I think that in terms of how an athlete can get funding for training expenses, that's a really tough question, because it's going to be different wherever you're from. Obviously I represent Bermuda, but on the IOC I would represent kind of all athletes, not just Bermuda athletes. But I think there are multiple avenues for getting funding, and it
You muted yourself, Julian.
Yeah, I think my headphones ran out of battery, but
Okay, no worries.
but yeah, so there's so many different opportunities, and what the IOC does is they provide the resources, but it's up to you to kind of utilize that as your National Olympic Committee. So it's really, at the end of the day, it's all about communication. And so what they've provided over the last 100 years are just opportunities and resources for the NOCs and for the athletes.
Any other questions, Jay?
Yeah, I was gonna say before you came on tonight, I was like, "What is this position?" But within the last 5 minutes, you've really explained it to me in layman's terms. So, are you the first Bermudian to, if you're successful, will you be the first Bermudian to achieve this?
So basically, the commission is comprised of 23 members, maximum of 23 members. And most of them go up for vote on the at the Olympic Games. So basically, between opening and closing ceremonies, the athletes are the ones that are voting. Olympic athletes are the ones that are voting at the games. I believe in the past, Patrick Singleton has been an appointed member. So we do have one Bermudian athlete on the ILC Athletes Commission as an appointed member. Previously to him getting appointed, I'm not aware of any other Bermudian athletes that have been selected on the ILC Athletes Commission. But it's a great opportunity. You know, it's one that, you know, I think I would thrive in because of my background in sport management, because of my education, you know, because of my experience as a student athlete. I really do. I think, you know, my network within swimming and within sports in our region is what's going to propel me forward. But it's a tough election. There's 30 spots. There's 30 candidates total for 4 spots. And, you know, there are athletes like Paul Gasol that is going up for election, and Frederica Pellegrini, and Therese Alshammer, who's a 5-time Swedish Olympian. You know, I know a lot of the swimmers, but yeah, there's quite a bit of competition. But I think, you know, like Earl said, you know, it's all about the smaller countries and what I can do to kind of promote those smaller countries.
How has the I wouldn't say negotiations, but how has your sales pitch been going with others around the IOC?
Yeah, I think the IOC, you know, it's all about canvassing while you're at the games. You know, I have a good kind of network within the IOC. I've gone to the forums and I've met a lot of the other athletes and other candidates. But at the end of the day, it's all about the you know, it's all about the canvassing that you do at the Olympic Games. And there's a lot of restrictions put in place for the election to kind of help support the smaller countries that don't have funding. So, you know, I can't put too much money into it, but definitely something that I can work on and communicate with those athletes in the Olympic Village. But, you know, you don't know who are the qualified athletes until the last second. I think July 2nd or 6th was the final deadline for qualifications.
No, the voting will be done in person. You guys will have your meeting in person. That was revealed earlier this week. Just being in that environment, how do you think things will kind of play out?
Yeah, so the way the voting's done, it's at the voting stations around the Olympic Village, and this is the first year where they're going to have multiple voting stations outside of the Olympic Village, which is great for sports like sailing and triathlon. You know, we have 2 athletes that are going, one for rowing and one for triathlon, and both of their venues are outside of the Olympic Village. So they're Flora is not staying in the Olympic Village. So basically, you know, it's tough to get athletes to vote when the accessibility isn't there. So this is going to be one of the first elections for the IOC Athletes Commission where the accessibility is there, which is great. And I'm actually going to be traveling out to Tokyo with the team. Earl, as you know, got quite a few other roles as well as helping out with the chef de mission. So yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, I'm going to be doing a lot of canvassing, talking to a lot of athletes, kind of delivering my strategy at the games to the athletes. But it's something I'm really excited about, and it's an opportunity I'd absolutely thrive in. You know, I think my communication skills, my background in sport management, kind of fits me into this role. And unfortunately, I don't have a ton of followers on Instagram or social media, so it's really going to be about delivering my message at the games and what I think I can do for these athletes in our region, but also for the athletes under the IOC's umbrella. I think you're on mute.
Yeah. Well, Julian, I want to wish you all the best. I mean, taking the opportunity to put yourself forward for any position globally is something that should be commended. Wanting to help not just Bermuda, but also athletes around the world. If you're not successful in this bid, I would encourage you to stay to the wicket. Eventually, the younger ones or the smaller countries will look to get that and gain that kind of respect with each other, and then possibly move forward collectively to try and encourage the bigger nations to give the smaller nations an opportunity to have those positions and kind of bring along, the sport itself globally. All right. So we will see you in Tokyo. And again, all the best.
Thank you, Earl. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate all you guys do for sports in Bermuda. It definitely delivers a lot, and it's important to have all these conversations about developing our NSGBs and our athletes, because at the end of the day, we're all we got. So appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by one of the voices of summer, as well as another voice of summer, Sean Tucker. We'll be right back.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's favorite distributor of fine beverages, has brought us a new and refreshing thirst quencher just in time for the approaching warm weather. Hint Water in 7 luscious flavors. Hint Water is slaking the thirst of active people who need pure hydration, low on the glycemic index, and want the kind of taste experience that keeps them coming back to try the next flavor. For those who've been giving water a miss, Hint may win you over. Hint Water. No sugar, no additives, all flavor. Lynn knows. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back, Jay. We're going to be soon joined by Sean Tucker. Good evening, Mr. Tucker. How are you?
Hello there, Mr. Banston. Good evening. Hey, Jason. How you doing?
Hey, buddy.
All is well?
As well as it's going to be.
Okay. Well, Mr. Tucker, you have been one of the voices of summer for a number of years. Take the cobwebs off and give us a bit of brief history of how it all got started for you to today.
So I started scoring with the original voice of summer, CV Jim Woolridge, 1984. I was still in high school, and he and I started out together at VSB. So he had always, before that, commentated on ZBM. And when he went to VSB, he asked me to join him. And so I was the scorer, and he was the sole commentator. And after a few years, it just after sitting there and watching him and learning from him, he just asked me if I wanted to give it a try, and just gave me the mic. And there was in fact, there had been no lead up to that day to along the lines of next week I'm going to let you have a go, or next year you're going to take a chance, or I'm going to give you an opportunity to do it. I never asked him if I could do it. We went to a commercial, and he just handed me the headset, and just been doing it ever since. And so that has now been 37 years. This will be my 37th year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still a young guy.
Well,
I'm younger than you.
We're all young at heart, brother.
That's right.
Since which, following the retirement of the legendary Jim Woolridge, you've brought in or partnered with another young man who has some cricketing background, in Jason Ford. What does someone like Jason bring to the table to help enhance and grow the voice of summer?
So there are two components to our broadcast that Jason brings. So let me take a step back. So I think that the benefit that I have is that I've been doing it for a while, and I think I know the business, right? And I had the benefit of sitting next to the best. He's the one that any one of us as cricket broadcasters would try to set. He sets the standard. He sets the benchmark, and so I had the benefit of learning my craft from Jim Woolridge. Jason is a broadcaster in and of himself. So he knows, he studied it, he knows broadcasting, he knows the media, and so he first of all brings that component. He knows the technical side of it. He knows all of that very, very well. But in addition to that, like me, he's a student of the game. He loves cricket. He knows it. He studies it, and he's always amazingly well prepared. And he studies it. He knows the players a lot better than I do, and he's just always prepared. He knows it, and he puts his heart and soul into it. And I think that the two of us make a good team and bring the best commentary that you'll find locally.
Well, I'm going to bring you, Jay, into this. I know you're my co-host, but you're also the co-host of this Voice of Summer. I remember, and Sean, you will remember this, at Seabreeze Oval when I had a team of people and we streamed the game online. And Jason was one of the commentators. And I believe, was it the very next year, Jay, you were brought into the VSB setup, or was it the year after that?
I believe it was the next year, but I told the story earlier. And see, Sean, you see how he left out a very important part of that story? He said a team, right? He told me it was going to be a team. It ended up just being me one game, and then the next game was me and Rachel. And so I don't know what his team.
Let me just say. Hold on a sec. Let me just clear something up. Mr. Ford, you refused to come off because you was having a good time. If you could recall, I had Oliver Bain, Gary Moreno. I had a host of people. And you was like, I'm having such a good time. Can I stay? Tell the truth.
I'm glad it wasn't Zoom back then, but that's the only way they was getting on was Zoom, because I was going to be fun afterwards. But I tell you guys,
and the rebirth of Jason was big.
I tell you guys, it's been a journey. It's been a journey, and I've learned so much from both of them, because the two competitions that we cover is Eastern County and Cup Match, and we just had on the president of St. George's, and Sean, just like yourself, how you light up when we speak of Eastern County, the passion that you guys bring to those stories is what Earl and Neil just automatically light up the screen when they talk about St. George's. As a person that's coming from the Western end, I'm not that. But over the last few years, I've not only respected, but I learned so much of some of the history and why you guys actually feel the way you do. And that only enhances not only the broadcast, because it comes out. A lot of times, especially in broadcasting, one of the tricks that they would teach you in school is basically smile when speaking. Even though you're on a radio, you'd be like, well, okay, they can't see me smile, but it comes across as a happy voice or things. So when you hear somebody speak of passion, even though you're not there, you can't physically see them, but you can hear it. And the things that Sean has grown, the tools that he have been taught by Uncle Jim is describing what it looks like. And he sits back and he gets his opening soliloquy. Lorenzo just sat back and said, he's been working on something this week here, because he, his own but singing a song with the birds. I mean, he adds so much into it. But when you realize that is the package, and when you listen to other broadcasts around the world, you see the same elements. So I've learned so much from you guys as a young person.
Sean, one of the things people look out for a lot of times is how the game is set up even before it starts. Because as we know, the game of cricket changes ball by ball, minute by minute. But how you set it up prior to the start of the game may not be the way it ends, but it's one of those things, especially as we know, now here comes the smile, when St. David's are playing. And you hear the pink and green, the mighty flats. You hear the blue and white, Cleveland County. You hear the red and white of Bailey's Bay, and you hear the yellow and blue of St. David's. You hear that all around the ground, but it's the voices that people are tuned in to the commentary to find out exactly what goes on. Is that something you kind of preempt, or are you getting to the ground, feeling the atmosphere, and that's how you start out? Because you always give a kind of a pre speech before the game, or a entertaining entry into the game.
So you have to set the picture, right? You have to set the stage for what's about to happen. So the Eastern County, first of all, Bermuda is blessed to have, for the Eastern County, two of the most scenic arenas to host it. So St. David's is built like an amphitheater, and you've got the grounds, especially up on the bank, looking down onto the field, and you got the water on the side. And it's just beautiful. And then even up at Bailey's Bay, where you've got the waters all around and you got the airport in the background. I mean, those sites are absolutely breathtaking. And then you have the people and the sights and the smells and just the music and just the atmosphere alone. It's easy to paint that picture, just to set the stage for what is about to come. You got the people out there, the horns blaring, and just the excitement, anticipation of what's about to come. Cup match is the same way, it's just the excitement and the anticipation of what's about to take place over the next 2 days. There's nothing like it. And I've seen cricket in other places, but it's nothing like the anticipation and the lead up to a county game and cup match. And so you in broadcasting, you want to paint the picture. We started, or the purpose behind broadcasting originally, these matches originally was to bring it to the sick and the shut in and those who can't get there. And so you want to paint the picture for what they can see. So now over the years, more recently, we have the advantage of television, so they can now see. But originally, we were their eyes as well as their ears to, in describing it, right? So you got to paint a picture of what's going on around the ground and set the stage for what's about to come for the day. And then to add to describing it, you have to remember cricket can be at times a very slow moving game, right? So you've got to I wouldn't say enhance, but you've got to describe things other than what's going on in the field, right? So you got to talk about what's going on around the field and the sights and everything else that's happening.
And that's gotten people in trouble once or twice.
Not me. I know. No, I know better.
Well, Sean, I before I let you go, I know when the late Jim Woolrich was honored in the Hall of Fame, you had a speech that I recorded, and I've held on to it. I think I sent it to you. You have it. Just describing how he painted that picture. Can you recall that speech or some of it? Because I think that was the essence of the man who brought cricket to life over a radio.
Yeah, so I remember the speech, and I remember in the speech he talked about it was the 1979 Cup match up at Somerset, when Somerset won the took cup match from St. George after St. George's had held on to it for 20 years.
Yeah, we can skip that part.
Huh?
We can skip that part.
Yeah. But he was describing. So I mean, think about it. When you've got cup match about to change hands for the first time in 20 years, right? And we all know the cup match is the biggest event in the country. And here it is, late on the second day, and you had, well, Jason might be too young to remember, but you would remember that you had Al James was hitting the ball all over the place, and making that in itself was making the match exciting, and wickets were also falling, and he was scoring prolifically, and I'll just never forget that Randy Horton was the captain, and the newspaper the next day reported how cars had stopped all along the road on the island, all across the island, because the match was so exciting. And he was describing this match, and he said that Randy Horton was, well, he was just describing the match so well, but he said that Randy Horton is standing with his foot on the threshold of taking cup match from St. George's for the first time in 20 years. And if he can't do it now, well, then that's his hard luck. And it's just, just the way that he described it with every, it's just, so that's what really made me want to become a broadcaster, because he just had the whole country in the palm of his hand. Traffic had stopped all along the country. Everybody was sitting on the edge of the seats around the field. Everybody was just, the field was about to explode because cup match, and everybody was just listening to it on the radio who wasn't there. And, that's just that. But he had the ability to do that, just describing it so well. And, that's what we aim to do when we do this. That's really what we aim to do. You want to have the ability to paint a picture and just have people enthralled and captivated by what's going on. And that's really what we try to do.
Well, Jason, what station will you guys be on, bringing people this year's Eastern County and Cup match?
Well, we will be on Magic 102.7, also simulcasting with Hot 107.5. And this year we have a special component with our Voice of Summer team. We have implemented a social media platform where we have collaborated with the likes of Burmese. And I believe for my sake, they're probably the #1 cultural social media platform that we have here on the island. It's been a great partnership where we have done videos and interviews over the last few weeks of not only presidents, players, super fans. And we released the video today, which folks can see it on YouTube, or they can go straight to Burmese and / Voice of Summer. You'll see a countdown of the Voice of Summer, and you hit on that and you'll see the video. That shows the passion that Eastern County has, and that's why we can't wait. I mean, it was weeks ago when we was doing these interviews, but every week it just feels like Connie's coming a little closer, and everybody around it was you could feel that energy. And I think this year we're not only taking care of our existing listeners, but I think we're going to grab some new listeners through our social media platforms. And once again, all courtesy and in collaboration with Burmese and our sponsors.
Well, gentlemen, I want to wish you all the best in bringing the game to the, sick and shut in, and those who just choose not to be at the game but want to tune in and find out what's going on. And I know Sean loves to emulate and entertain. This one here might not be, well, actually, there should be some excitement. There should be some excitement because, as we know, the teams don't get announced until late, but I think Flats have a few surprises for you, Sean. So
tomorrow,
you might have to change that.
Team's going to be picked tomorrow.
St. David's team is going to be picked tomorrow. Flats is already picked.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, Flats is already picked.
No worry. Bring it on.
Well, we want to wish everyone all the best because come Saturday evening, the match will be over, and the cup holders will be the cup holders. And then on to the next challenges, which will be Cleveland County in the second round of the Eastern County. But this week, Saturday, at 10 a.m. or 10 to 10, you guys will be live on, what is it, Magic?
Hot 107.5
Hot
and
107.
Magic 102.7. So we'll be starting on Hot 107.5 at 9:30.
Okay.
And then we will be joining, we'll be simulcasting with Magic at about 1:30. So both stations from 1:30, but just at Hot 107.5 from about 9:30.
All right. And we look forward to how that entertaining game will entertain the fans as we've been entertained by 2 rounds of Western County. That a lot of people said, the games will be over early, but as we've seen, some of these games have gone the distance. And we look forward to this Eastern County keeping its heritage, its history, and as the late and mighty Jim Ward would say, the mighty Flats are coming to take the trophy from the boys in the east end of St. David's, and there will be some bridge jumping. The bridge will be closed on Saturday night.
I don't
How's
think
that,
he ever
Sean?
said that. I don't think he ever said that.
The bridge will be closed?
But no, he said the bridge will be closed, but they didn't have anywhere to put the cup, so he gave that bridge enough.
Not to listen. The cup will spend the hill time at the aquarium.
Yes,
that's
what
where
he
they'll be
used to
swimming
say.
until the next.
That's what he used to say.
Well, again, I want to thank you both very much, Jay. We'll be speaking with you from Tokyo next week with another edition
that's where he's
of.
going. He said he was going to be busy next week. I didn't know that's where he was going. Oh, that's where you're going.
That's where I'm going.
Is that right?
Yes.
Big shot.
Yeah. No. It's all work related.
All right.
But yeah, we will have another edition of the Island Stats Sports Show next week right here on islandstats.com. Again, gentlemen, good night and good luck this coming weekend.
Thank you very much.
Safe journeys, buddy.